Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the extra episode of White Album 2. This was an extra episode included with the PlayStation 3 version of White Album 2, and it takes place after Kazusa Normal. So, Setsuna is visiting Haruki, despite her own health starting to fail her, and it seems to be all in her head, kind of a mental thing that she's gripping with. And Haruki obviously has picked up on it, but he is still so fragile after his and Kazusa's breakup that he's not really pushing the issue. So, let's continue from here. Whew, all done. Is that all you want? Yeah, I'm stuffed. You've barely eaten anything. I overate a little this morning. Sorry, I'll have to let you take the rest. I don't know if I can eat all of this. You can leave some of it. I'll probably use it in tonight's miso soup. Are you going to leave it? No, I'll eat it. Although eating this much when I barely move at all will probably make me gain some weight. Oh, I know. Why don't we go for a stroll as a bit of after-meal exercise? A stroll. Sure, I'd be good with that. Oh, but running out in this heat would be asking for heat stroke. Forget what I just said. Honestly, asking Haruki to go for a walk and him saying yes is a hugely good sign. Because a little bit of sunlight, a little bit of getting out every day is super healthy. And for Haruki, who only goes out like once a week, and that's to go to the doctor, him saying yes to a walk is actually a huge improvement. So her turning on her heel and saying never mind is kind of dumb. What a careless mistake. What was I talking about going outside right now? Really? That's amazing. Yeah, I've started getting up most mornings, and I feel like my sleep patterns are stabilizing. Nice, nice. Then you really are on the verge of getting back to work, I imagine. What Haruki-kun had just told me was enormously positive news. The results of his examination last week had been surprisingly good, and the medication he received from the doctor had decreased. Well, with everything that's happened, I don't know if I'll be able to come back that easily, but... Oh, no! This is definitely it! Everything is going back to normal. Setsuna. Yep. Yes, this was good. It was wonderful that he was recovering this quickly. Although, Haruki's really kind of telling her to take it easy, like nothing is set in stone, I want to take it slow, but Setsuna's immediately jumping into like, everything's fine, everything's going to go back to normal, this is going to be great, because she's constantly on the edge of breaking down herself, so like she needs to believe in that. But her saying those things out loud, I don't think are very good for Haruki either. Before long, Haruki-kun would make his full comeback. Everyone would be freed from their burdens and hardships. Yes, everything was going to go well. Hey, Setsuna, do you want to come over here and talk? I'm okay. I'm not done vacuuming yet. You've been working non-stop since you got here today. You should take a break. After that happy news you gave me, I feel like I have to keep moving or I'll get antsy. Because I knew. I knew that moving around so much that I didn't have time to think was the best thing for me right now. Haruki wants to sit and have a conversation. The one thing that she wanted, she was so excited, like, maybe we can talk, maybe we can have a conversation. Haruki is finally inviting her for this, and she's like, no, it's okay, never mind, I don't want it anymore. She just wants to care. She has to care for him. That's the difference. Hey, what do you want to do for summer break? I had continued moving around this whole time. It might be a bit early to take any trips, but you might be able to go out for a little bit, right? If things keep going on at this rate. After I finished the laundry and cleaning his room, it was time to clean the bath. Then, while Haruki-kun took a bath, I made dinner. After that, of course, there was tidying up to be done. You could go to the library like you usually do. or a little bit of shopping, or go to a movie. And finally, night came. Although, we should probably try to avoid crowds if we can. Well, but it's summer break. Downtown will be full of crowds. What am I even talking about? It seemed as though the day were about to end with no problems. I'm excited though, getting to spend a whole week together. I don't think we've done that since summer break in our 4th year of college. Today had been fun, and I was happy. Although having to reassure yourself of that is not a great sign. Setsuna. Although you were always going on about work or your thesis that year, so you barely actually spent any time with me. I could see the signs of his recovery. He was chattier with me than usual. He ate plenty of the food I made for him. You were so stubborn about it. I actually found myself wondering whether you might be avoiding me again. So, it was only natural that I would talk more too, that I would get excited. Listen, Setsuna. Then there was the summer before that. Actually, no, we don't need to talk about that, do we? Never mind, sorry. Why wouldn't I get like this? Today was so full of joy. Setsuna. Huh? There was power in his voice. This was probably the first time in half a year that I had heard such a strong voice out of him. Setsuna, listen. I want to thank you again. Thank you for supporting me for so long. And the words that followed were full of strength, kindness, and peace. Come on, why are you being so formal? I just did the obvious thing to do, as your girlfriend. Awkward. Was he indeed recovering? That hope made my heart pound even harder. It wasn't the obvious thing. It wasn't obvious at all. I betrayed you. Ran away, and after all that, I broke down. Oh, really? I'd forgotten all about that. And still, for some reason, you kept devoting yourself to me. Well, of course I did. I mean, I love you. Could I say that now? Would he accept it? If I hadn't had you, I would have kept running away from everything until I had nowhere left to run, and my whole life might have fallen to pieces. Don't say that. I'm going to be indebted to you for the rest of my life, Setsuna. I'll never be able to pay you back for all of it. I'm sorry. I had been rewarded. I had. Don't worry about it. Something will come out of it sooner or later. Our future together is forever. My heart was pounding. My body was hot. It was hard to breathe. Now there was nothing more to... I had nothing to... Setsuna, calm down and listen to what I'm going to ask of you, okay? Okay. Go home now. You don't have to come back tomorrow or for summer break. Oh, man. Honestly, it's for the better good of Setsuna to not constantly have to come back and take care of Haruki. But she knows nothing else, and she's so obsessed she can't imagine her life without Haruki. Even though everybody around her is telling her it's for her own good to, not be around Haruki, at least until he gets better. But she doesn't know any other way. Huh? It was... Sorry. What? A bolt from the blue, befitting this season. I'm sorry. All I can say is horrible stuff like this. Haruki-kun. I'm so sorry, Setsuna. Forgive me for being so weak. What? What was... Why? How? Why? How? Forgive me. Forgive me. What was going on? Haruki-kun hadn't gotten better at all. When you showed up, I should have just made you leave immediately. He hadn't recovered? I hadn't been rewarded? But I couldn't stand the idea of letting you go, so I didn't say anything. I'm sorry for being so spineless and cowardly. So why? Why? He got better, so he didn't need me anymore? Haruki-kun? Haruki-kun? No, of course not. I knew better than anyone that he wasn't that kind of person. Or maybe I was being dropped because I was the kind of person to have such awful thoughts. Well, why? What's wrong with me? Then was there no point? Was I never going to get through? What did I do wrong? I'll fix it. I'll change, so don't say such sad things. My heart was pounding. My body was hot. It was hard to breathe. My whole body refused to move as though it had gone to sleep. My throat was parched, but a wave of nausea came up from inside. And the next moment, Haruki-kun softly touched my forehead. No. I could tell from a single look that you were starting to break too. What he was touching wasn't really my forehead, but the sweat pouring out of it. Again, why do they always describe sweat as pouring? It's so gross. What? After turning off the faucet that had been left running, Haruki-kun crouched down on the floor and started picking up fragments of the broken dish. It's getting hard to get up in the morning, right? You didn't make it here yesterday, and you were late today, too. I have low blood pressure. But I couldn't even help with it. I just kept staring at the spot where his eyes had been until shortly before. Sometimes you suddenly break out in sweat, and it gets hard to breathe, right? It's summer. It's hot out. Your legs won't move. You can't go forward. The nausea that I had driven back started to rise up again. So the only way you can find of hiding it is to keep your energy high. You have to act cheerful all the time. What are you saying? You make these attempts to act like your usual self, and you don't realize that, in fact, you're doing things differently. Doing things differently? Setsuna, you always took the attitude opposite of mine. If I was depressed, you were bright and strong. When I got excited, you were careful and controlled. He had been turning a blind eye to everything. Now, I know that all of that was something you worked hard to build up, to bring some relief to my heart. My desperate, shallow actions could never get by someone as smart as he was. But today, I got caught up in his words, his demonstrations that he was doing well, and took my own spirits to an exaggerated height. There was no way he wouldn't catch it. I know that right now you're probably throwing everything into deceiving yourself, because that's how far you've been driven. No, I'm not. You've got the wrong idea. I think right now, I understand you better than you do yourself. Why? What do you know about me? Of course I know. I couldn't possibly not notice the state you're in right now. And she was trying, and she tried very hard, but there's only so long you can go, right? Let's say that, in this case, Haruki's our boyfriend. Let's say Haruki's mental capacity, mental energy is at 20%. Setsuna has to be at 180% in order to get themselves both to full. And even if she was like kind of resting them both at like 70%, she still has to put in 140% effort. And after doing that for 6 months straight without really getting anything in return, other than just being around hope and sorrow every time she sees him, that's going to break her down. And now she's broken down to the point where she can barely go to work, and even Haruki is noticed. In that instant, I knew what Haruki-kun was trying to say, even better than he did. Because right now, you're just like I was half a year ago. And that certainty, which was nothing more than an assumption, carved itself into my ears, word for word, unmistaken. But for me, I was getting what I deserved. You got dragged into this because of me. Together with his self-mutilating words I had no desire to hear. Haruki-kun was crying again. Things were going so well. He was finally recovering, and now it was because I had thrown cold water over everything. Everything was my fault. Go home, Setsuna, and take care of yourself. Then that meant no. Whether I was with him or apart from him, I was just a burden on him. Nothing more. There's still time. If you do it now, you won't end up like me. But if I do that, what will you? I'll be okay. I told you, I'm really starting to do pretty well now. You're crying right now. You're going to pieces again because of me. Only a bit. With some rest, I'll be fine again. No, that's no good. Your doctor told you the start of recovery is the most dangerous time. My doctor also said that when you're starting to get sick is the most important time to pay attention. Please, Setsuna, just listen to what I have to say. His shaky voice set off my own tear ducts. I suddenly found myself wanting to cry and scream and cling to him. If we make the wrong move here, something irreversible will happen. Haruki-kun. But I didn't cry or scream or cling. If I did that, I would break him. I would truly be a burden, a plague. I'll say it as many times as I have to, Setsuna. And Haruki-kun mustered up the little bit of fraying courage he had and cut me loose. Go home. Wow. And this is incredible coming from Haruki because he is so weak. He really, really is just pathetic at this point. And I say that without like my own personal hatred toward him, just as a human being right now. He is pathetic. And usually he would cling to any amount of strength that someone offered him, right? He's been accepting Setsuna all this time because he needed that strength. He believed it. And now at this point, he has like a smidgen of mental strength, and he's using that to let Setsuna go. Because he knows that she is becoming, in a state that she's going to be broken and he's going to be broken. In a sense, it's the same thing that Kazusa did to Haruki. She's like, you are being ruined. I'm going to let you go. And now Haruki is turning around and saying, you are being ruined. I'm going to let you go. So it's interesting how this is kind of passing on through the trio. He chose to fall into the abyss alone so that we wouldn't both fall. And don't come back for a while. Got it? Without hesitating, without balking at his own collapse, he made the choice to protect me. No, don't come back at all. Even after he had tried to fall with Kazusa. Oh. what a chapter. But this is a really important conversation, and this is something which, in a perfect world, well, in a broken perfect world, this would have happened immediately at the start of having broken up with Kazusa. He would have said, you know what? No, stay out of my house. I did this to you. I shouldn't have done it to you. We can't be together. But instead, he chose to latch onto her strength. And now that he has a way to recovery, he's saying, you know what? No, like I can't drag you down anymore. And I do think that that is mature. That is a mature decision, and that is a necessary decision at this point. So, I don't usually compliment Haruki's decisions, but this one in particular, I do think is a good idea. So, moving on to part 8, we're going to check in with the orchestra. Once more from the same point. What did you do wrong? I don't particularly feel like telling you. If I must, all I can say is, all of it. Again! What is this gutless piano playing? You pass yourself off as some sort of #1 promising young pianist, but I find myself hideously disappointed. You think you'll pass as anything worth notice here in Paris just because you found some success in your home country. Perhaps with an audience that was mostly your own relatives, showering you in applause at some play recital. You developed a misconception of yourself. Enough. There's no point in any more. I can see why Yoko never had you play a concerto before this. I've never seen such a complacent pianist. You'll be of no use to my orchestra. Phew. What a jerk. And so for more reasons than one, you could see why Kazusa never liked Dupré. After just barely managing to take a shower, my body, mind, and energy all gave out, and I collapsed into bed without drying off. I didn't care that the water dripping off my hair and skin was soaking into the sheets. I just lay there, face down. Fine, sure, I'll quit, but first, I'm beating the hell out of that bastard. That was my impression after my first day of full rehearsal for this concert I had looked forward to so eagerly. I had been in Paris for a week. My planned meetup with the orchestra at the start got pushed later and later, and until yesterday I had only been able to practice on my own. I arrived in Paris full of determination, having left my sick mother in Vienna, and yet before I even started to play, that determination was suddenly broken down. During these days, robbed of whatever meaning there may have been in my coming all the way to Paris, my stress only grew. And today was my long-awaited first day with all the orchestra members present. But during the entire 3-hour-long rehearsal, apart from me, only the violins played. Now this is a big deal for Kazusa, because Kazusa's never done a collaboration. She never even did a collaboration with her mother before her illness really kind of took over. So this is her first group project. And nobody likes group projects, especially ones that are really high stakes, high stress, which in this situation with this famous composer, it really is. So for Kazusa's kind of first time working with others, I mean, obviously aside from Setsun and Haruki, which was a different story, this is very stressful. This is a lot for her. I heard not the performance of the orchestra, but the lecherous conductor raining down abuse on me in French, seeming like an entirely different person from the one I met at that party. I hadn't made a single mistake. It wasn't a piece that required much in the way of technical skill in the first place. And yet, he never made any show of approval. As a result, the first day ended without getting past the first bar, let alone the entire piece. And to make things even worse, wow, the first bar is not very long. That's a few seconds long. That's pretty bad. Emma-san? It's me, Kazusa. How has Mom been since then? For the past 3 days or so, Mom's condition had been less than favorable. I see. Still no visitors allowed? I had asked Emma-san to visit the hospital as much as possible in my place, but she hadn't been able to see Mom for a while. What did the doctor say? Uh-huh. Okay. Got it. According to her explanation, it didn't sound like it was anything immediately dire, but Mom was definitely getting weaker, and she wasn't eating much either. A message? Sure. Read it to me. The single message from the nurse, whom I had asked to let me know of any good news or developments. And the content of that message was, "Thanks. I'll call you again tomorrow. Don't come back to Vienna for any reason until the concert has ended. You must make Clôture a success. And it can't just be an ordinary success. It has to be the kind of success that puts the media all throughout Europe into an uproar." Pretty tall order. Wow. And this is tough for Kazusa especially, knowing that her mom is not doing well, not being able to speak to her, not being able to see her, but getting this message, don't come back until you succeed. I get it, because she wants Kazusa to be able to maintain herself. I get Yoko's intention, wanting her to work with others, make connections, become independent. But at the same time, ever since childhood, Kazusa's love that she got from her mother has been because of the piano. Any attention her mom paid to her was because of the piano. The only reason they reconnected was because she saw Kazusa playing at the school festival. She had value, she had use, because she was a musician. So in a way, to me, this is so cruel. You know, putting this type of expectation on your daughter right before, well, you know, while you're very terminally ill. Putting this kind of thing on your daughter is just one last tiny little slap in the face to a musician. I know she has more breathing than that, but really, that's so much pressure to put on your kid. I'm not a big fan of Yoko's parenting style, if that wasn't clear until now. There was still a tiny bit of my self-assured mother left in those sentences. It gave me a tiny bit of comfort, but I wanted to talk to her. I didn't care how faint-hearted she was. I could deal with it when I found myself on the edge of tears after talking to her, her frailty leaving me in despair. Yeah, I wanted to talk to Mom. What the hell is with him? He hardly even sees me as human, let alone a woman. I told you, he's a completely different person when he's standing on stage. He completely ignored 30 people for 3 hours. Everyone at the back was playing cards. That's an everyday occurrence in his orchestra. He always picks on newcomers. How the hell can all of them just go along with it? Well, he's a genius conductor. I mean, I discovered him myself. Genius or no genius, his personality is a disaster. I've never had my piano playing ripped apart like this in my life. I'm pretty sure I've told you there was something missing from your playing before. It's not the same as the dry way you do it, Mom. He's pig-headed. He doesn't let me get a word in edgewise. He's condescending. He nitpicks everything, from my personality to my life. I can picture your rehearsal now. I wish I'd been there to see it. I'm going to end up hating the piano after this. Oh? You like playing the piano? I was sure you were only doing it to get his attention. Shut up! His attention. And we sure know who his is referring to. So, before we read through more of Kazusa's woes and her trying to get better for the concert, I think we will stop there for now. So, thank you so much for joining me on this extra episode from White Album 2, and I'll be back with the next part shortly. So until then, hope you take care. See you.